It's not my fault that the party of FDR and JFK is turning into the party of LOL and WTF. Members of Congress tweeting things like cancel rent, cancel mortgage, and no more policing or incarceration, declaring that capitalism is slavery, canceling Lincoln and Dr. Seuss, teaching children they're oppressors and math is racist, making Mr. Potato Head gender neutral. But Democrats have become a parody of themselves, just making rules to make rules because it makes you feel like you're a better person, making sure that everything bad never happens again, which you can never fully do. It just makes everyone else's life a drag.
There's something oddly surreal about seeing Bill Maher turn into the person saying, "Wait a second, have you all totally lost it?" For years, he was the one conservatives loved to dislike. He was the confident liberal in the seat, the guy with the sharp jokes, the one who never missed a chance to mock the right. And now he's sitting there looking at today's left like someone who came home and found strangers moving the furniture, renaming the dog, and insisting the ceiling fan is somehow offensive. And that's why this moment feels so strong. If you like videos that cut through the noise and say what people are already thinking, hit like, subscribe, and share your opinion in the comments because this discussion is only getting wilder. What makes Maher's criticism powerful is that it doesn't come from a hardcore conservative trying to score easy points. It comes from someone who spent most of his career on the left. That's the twist. He's not suddenly switching sides. He's not waving a big Republican flag and acting like he always agreed with Fox News. He's saying something far more uncomfortable for Democrats to hear. I didn't leave. You all ran off the edge.
Let's get this straight. It's not me who's changed. It's the left, who is now made up of a small contingent who've gone mental and a large contingent who refuse to call them out for it. But I will. That's why I'm a hero at Fox these days. Which shows just how much liberals have their head up, because if they really thought about it, they would have made me a hero on their media. But that can't happen in this ridiculous new era of mind-numbing partisanship, where if I keep it real about the nonsense in the Democratic Party, it makes me an instant hero to Republicans.
And honestly, that's the part that hurts. It's one thing when your opponents call you ridiculous. It's another when someone from your own side looks around, sees the chaos, and asks why everyone is acting like this is normal. Because let's be honest, much of what Maher is mocking sounds less like real politics and more like a comedy sketch written late at night to make liberals look crazy. Cancel rent, cancel mortgages, no policing at all, no prisons, capitalism is slavery. Lincoln is questionable now, Dr. Seuss is somehow dangerous. Kids are being taught to see themselves through guilt, complaints, and identity labels before they can even spell homework. Math is racist. Mr. Potato Head needs a gender panel. At some point, regular people stop paying attention because it feels like a political fever dream. And that's really the main point here. Maher isn't just frustrated because the left says things he disagrees with. He's frustrated because so much of it feels unserious and performative.
It's not my fault that the party of FDR and JFK is turning into the party of LOL and WTF. Members of Congress tweeting things like cancel rent, cancel mortgage, and no more policing or incarceration, declaring that capitalism is slavery, canceling Lincoln and Dr. Seuss, teaching children they're oppressors and math is racist, making Mr. Potato Head gender neutral.
It's like politics has been replaced by a live role play where the goal isn't to improve life, but to prove you're morally better than the next person. That's the game now. It's not enough to be kind. You have to show kindness in the most dramatic, hashtag-ready way possible. You don't just fix problems, you announce your goodness. You display your virtue. You wrap simple ideas in layers of complicated language and then call everyone else hateful for noticing. And that kind of politics becomes tiring very quickly. It's like being stuck at a dinner table with someone who turns every topic into a lecture. Toys are political, hair is political, sports are political, language is political, even snacks somehow become political. There's no pause, there's no space for humor. There's no room for normal people to just live without being told they're part of some hidden system of oppression, because they bought the wrong game, used the wrong word, or reacted to a ridiculous rule.
The same thing happened in reverse to Darth Vader's daughter, Liz Cheney, who is now a hero to liberals simply because she recognizes Biden did not steal the last election. What a sad commentary on our politics, where simply acknowledging reality is now seen as a profile in courage. People sometimes say to me, you didn't used to make fun of the left as much. Yeah, because they didn't give me so much to work with.
That's why Maher's line about the Democratic Party becoming the party of LOL hits hard. It's funny, sure, but it also shows something deeper. When a political movement starts to feel like a joke, it's in trouble. And right now, the modern left keeps giving comedians endless material. That's not because comedians are mean, it's because absurd ideas create comedy. You can't tell people that every institution is broken, every tradition is questionable, every norm is oppressive, every disagreement is violence, and then act surprised when someone with a microphone starts making fun of you. Maher understands this better than most because he's always followed one simple rule. If you're being ridiculous, you're fair game, that's the job. Comedy isn't there to protect people from embarrassment. It's there to expose nonsense by making it obvious. And when people laugh at these examples, they're not laughing because they're cruel or want others to suffer. They laugh because they recognize the madness. It feels real, they've seen it, they've experienced it. They've watched daily life fill up with strange ideas pushed by people who seem far too proud of themselves. Take the overregulation argument because this is where Maher really makes his point. He's not saying all rules are bad, that would be too simple. Of course, some rules matter. No one wants toxic waste in water. No one wants big companies doing anything they want without limits. That's not the issue.
Regulation should be a good issue for Democrats. It's certainly one they're associated with. And I think the average voter would agree that banks and chemical plants and drug companies need watching. Telling a company, you can't dump the waste from your hog farm straight into the water supply. We're mostly all for that. But Democrats have become a parody of themselves, just making rules to make rules because it makes you feel like you're a better person.
The problem is when rules stop being practical and start becoming a kind of moral performance, a show, a bureaucratic display, a way for leaders to say, look how much I care, while everyone else gets buried under forms, costs, delays, compliance lists, warning signs, required notices, and endless small frustrations that somehow never stop the people actually causing the trouble. That's the trick, right? The bad actors ignore the rules. The average people get overwhelmed by them. And everyone knows it, everyone. The reckless driver doesn't care about another form. The thief doesn't stop to read the latest city policy. The activist breaking things in the name of justice isn't stopped by one more rule. But the family running a business feels it. The homeowner trying to install something feels it. The parent dealing with school confusion feels it. The worker trying to afford life in their own state definitely feels it.
The oath of office I took was to comedy. And if you do goofy shit, wherever you are on the spectrum, I'm going to make fun of you because that's where the gold is. And the fact that they are laughing at it should tell you something. It rings true. When normal people read that San Francisco has basically legalized shoplifting, they think Democrats have gone nuts. They think, you know, that Ted Cruz guy seems like a real stiff. But at least he believes in the concept of shopping with money.
That's why Maher's frustration sounds so relatable. He's saying Democrats used to understand the difference between helpful limits and suffocating control. Now too many seem obsessed with the idea that every human flaw can be fixed with more rules. Something bad happens, pass a law. Someone makes a poor choice, create a mandate. Someone online feels offended, rewrite the guidelines. There's this belief that society can be shaped into perfect safety, perfect fairness, perfect emotional comfort if the government controls enough small details. But real life doesn't work like that. People don't work like that. And the more leaders chase that idea, the more everyday life starts to feel like a supervised school trip. That's where California examples hit hard because California has become the main example in this debate. In theory, it's a progressive dream. In reality, it often looks like a warning sign. Extremely high costs, endless rules, businesses leaving, residents moving away, streets that feel ignored while leaders lecture about values. It's a contradiction that's getting harder to ignore. How can you claim to be building the future when so many people are trying to leave the present you created? And then there's the toy aisle issue, which makes it almost too perfect. Because nothing shows political disconnect more than officials deciding the big problem today is whether toy sections are arranged in a gender-neutral way.
Now an emoji for pregnant men. Real, I'm not making it up. California just passed a law requiring large retailers to have a non-gendered toy section. A non-gendered toy section? Isn't Ken enough?
Seriously, imagine being a normal person dealing with rent, food, gas, school, work, and daily stress, and then hearing politicians say this is what needed attention. It's like calling firefighters because your pillows aren't emotionally inclusive enough. That's why people laugh, not because they hate kindness, not because they oppose treating people well. They laugh because they can see priorities are mixed up. They can feel it. It's the same reason many people reacted strongly during the pandemic era. Yes, some rules were necessary, but by that time, many were already tired of being controlled by officials who always seemed ready to regulate one more part of daily life. The frustration didn't appear suddenly. It had been building for years. The pandemic just made it explode.
We need a law for that? Do you have to inject yourselves into everything? From where you can throw a frisbee to who can braid hair? This is why so many people, by the way, were triggered by COVID policies. They were already sick of rules.
And that's what Maher is connecting with so well. The feeling that the modern left doesn't know when to stop. Everything must be updated, everything must be controlled, everything must go through an ideological filter, every old idea must be questioned, every normal person must be corrected. It's exhausting. And beyond exhausting, it pushes people away because most people don't want politics in every part of their lives. They want balance. They want common sense. They want leaders who can tell the difference between real problems and symbolic battles created for attention.
Making sure that everything bad never happens again, which you can never fully do. It just makes everyone else's life a drag. The Biden infrastructure bill has a provision that requires all new cars to install an alert system that goes off when you leave a baby in the back seat, which is something done only by crackheads and people who sadly, yes, do it on purpose. And after every one of us winds up bearing the cost for cars to install this alarm, you know who's going to ignore it? Crackheads and people who do it on purpose.
The surprising part is that Democrats once benefited from being seen as the party that understood real struggles. Wages, healthcare, jobs, infrastructure, everyday concerns, real issues that shape whether people can build a stable life. But somewhere along the way, too many loud voices shifted toward elite cultural activism that talks a lot about justice while often making life more frustrating, more confusing, and more expensive for the same people they claim to support. And when someone like Maher points this out, the reaction from the left often reveals a lot. They don't debate the argument, they act offended that he said it openly. That's the signal. The problem for them isn't the absurdity, it's that the absurdity was mocked publicly. He broke the pattern, he stopped agreeing, he made the group look foolish. And for movements built on pressure and conformity, that's the worst mistake.
A censor light is not going to fix this problem, and Democrats no longer possess the common sense to understand that not every problem in the world can be fixed with a regulation. But don't tell that to the advocacy groups who also want every future car in America to only start when the driver blows into a breathalyzer. Oh, great, my other car is a Karen. Well, you know, it's also not safe to drive when you're crying. Should we make a car that follows your texts and stops the engine when you're dumped?
But here's the reality, mockery matters. It always has. Once people begin laughing at your serious slogans, your influence weakens. Once the illusion breaks, it's hard to rebuild it. That's why comedians can be dangerous to self-important political groups. They bring big ideas back down to human level. They take complicated language and show how empty it can be. They make people hear how ridiculous something sounds when stripped of academic wording and moral pressure. That's exactly what Maher is doing. He's not acting like a hero. He's basically saying, can we stop pretending crazy ideas are smart just because they sound progressive? And millions hear that and think, finally someone is saying the obvious. Finally, someone isn't bowing to every trendy idea. Finally, someone on the left admits a movement can become so focused on appearing good that it forgets how to be reasonable.
Racism is bad. How about a car that won't start unless you play a message about tolerance from George Takei? Regular viewers of this program may recall my long battle to get solar power hooked up at my house. It involved this shed, which had to be built to house this solar battery. Yes, that battery needed a house to live in. And not just any house, one that had to follow the specifications of this chart. That's a real chart of the steps we had to go through to get this thing turned on. Democrats have to stop thinking that what the voters dream about is to be hassled.
And that may be the strongest part of Maher's argument. He's not saying the left cares too much. He's saying it cares in the worst way, the least useful way, the most performative way. It's all symbolism, all posing, all announcements, all self-praise, while real results become worse. Policies turn into branding, activism becomes identity, governing becomes a show. And people are getting tired of it because while people can accept disagreement, they can't tolerate obvious nonsense being presented as wisdom. They don't like being told what they see isn't real. They don't like watching systems fail while leaders celebrate small symbolic changes. They don't like being treated as bad people for asking simple questions. That's where Maher fits in. He expresses that frustration without pretending to be someone else. That's why his criticism is powerful. It's not fake, it's not a conversion story, it's not I switch sides. It's a liberal saying, this version of liberalism is disconnected, arrogant, and unrealistic. That's harder to dismiss and more uncomfortable because it shows a divide Democrats can't fix by just shouting Republican talking point. And honestly, whether you like Maher or not, you can't deny he's tapped into something big. There's a growing group of people who feel politically lost right now. They're not extreme. They're not obsessed with culture wars. They just want responsible leadership. They want policies based on reality. They want leaders focused on real problems instead of symbolic distractions. They want common sense back in public life. And when they hear Maher criticize the most extreme ideas on the left, it feels less like betrayal and more like relief. So no, Bill Maher didn't suddenly decide to attack Democrats for fun. He saw a party that once claimed to be practical and watched it drift into a strange world of overregulation, identity focus, moral display, and misplaced priorities. He's not surprised conservatives agree with him. He's surprised liberals made it so easy. And that's the real warning behind the jokes. When your longtime allies start sounding like critics, something is wrong. When common sense feels rebellious, there's a problem. And when a comedian becomes one of the clearest voices saying what regular people feel, maybe the joke isn't on him. Maybe it's on the political class that became so self-righteous it forgot how it looks from the outside. That's why this moment matters. Not because Maher is perfect, not because every joke lands, but because he says what others avoid. The modern left often confuses being extreme with being correct, being loud with being wise, and being performative with being helpful. And until that changes, the criticism won't stop. It will only grow louder. So what do you think? Is Bill Maher one of the last liberals calling this out, or is he just benefiting from backlash? Share your thoughts in the comments because this debate isn't ending anytime soon. And if you liked this breakdown, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay for more content that cuts through the noise and says what others won't. And before you go, if you want faster political updates and direct breakdowns of major stories, check out my new channel called Blue Check News. Visit it, subscribe, and I'll see you there too. The link is in the description.